The big question nowadays is what can India do to control inflation before it gets out of hand? The inflation that is rising because of, as the government says, Russia Ukraine war, which is resulting in a hike in crude oil prices. IMF also agrees that yes, inflation in India is inching up, is going up due to the ongoing war, and because of which the crude oil prices have gone up. More than 85% of India's oil needs are met through imports presently. It's a very interesting article by IMF which brings out the steps that India can take in order to tackle the future crisis that we might be in through increase in inflation in the country. What steps has IMF talked about? Number one, it says infrastructure investments. It does not explain, or the article does not explain, how is infrastructure investment going to help reduce or control inflation. Now, when you invest in infrastructure, what happens is you lock in money for a very long time period. Let's say you've invested in thousands of crores in railways infrastructure, thousands of crores in road infrastructure, in airports. You lock in money because the gestation period in infrastructure is very high. It'll take probably another 10 years or 5 years to create one project, to complete one project. Because of that high gestation period, and because these are heavy amounts, it results in pulling out money from the economy, or at least from the hands of the people, if not the economy. When people have less money in their hands, the demand for goods automatically goes down, and when the demand for goods automatically goes down, it has an impact on inflation as well. Okay, so you have to try and control the supply of money in the economy. The second tip that they have given is also very similar. It says monetary tightening. What do you mean by monetary tightening? Very simple. RBI starts increasing interest rates. When it increases interest rates, then borrowing becomes more difficult. When borrowing becomes difficult, the supply of money in the economy reduces. When there is less supply, there is less money in the hands of people, less demand for goods and services. This is number two. Number three, what else have they said? They have also talked about the number of women in labor force. We have to try and increase the number of females into the labor force. Now, how is it going to have any impact whatsoever on inflation? The reason is simple, the sequence is simple. As females in the labor force will increase, there will be more supply of labor in the economy. When the supply of labor in the economy increases, then the pressure of cost of labor will go down. For example, if there are, let's say, 2 people right now waiting outside the gate of my company asking to be hired. Tomorrow, let's say, the number of females in the labor force start increasing. We are taking a very micro and very hypothetical example. Instead of 2, now we have 5 people or 4 people standing outside the gate waiting to be hired. When the number of people increase, my bargaining power as a hirer also increases. Okay, because now there are 4 people, the competition is increased. Instead of paying them, let's say, 12 lakh per annum, I can say I will pay you only 9 lakh per annum, and they will be fine with it. They will have to accept it because the supply of people in the labor force has increased. It will result in a reduction in my cost of production, and ultimately the inflation might also stay in control. Now you might feel that this is exploitation of labor. No, the supply of labor has to be at an optimum level. In India, it is not, because the females are unable to participate in the labor force for various reasons. Okay, there are various other structural issues that IMF also talks about. Bottlenecks, it calls it bottlenecks in the land market, bottlenecks in the education market, wherein the educational outcomes are not at the optimum level. All these have a direct or an indirect impact on inflation in the economy. Land market, if it is driven by speculation, gambling, and not driven by pure numbers, pure reasons, rationalities, automatically the land prices and the prices of flats goes up, properties goes up in certain part of the country, resulting in high inflation in that area itself, because there is again more demand, more price. You have to recuperate that price some or the other way, so you'll start increasing your cost of charging for various products that you provide. For example, I buy an office for, let's say, 10 crore. Now it should have been, the value should have been, let's say, 6 crore, but I get it for 10 crore in the heart of Delhi. Now what will happen? I will try and recuperate that money somehow. So what will I do? I'll start increasing the prices of products and services that I sell. Okay, this is just one example, one sequence of ways in which higher land prices can affect inflation in the economy. These are all called as structural bottlenecks. Okay, so this is what IMF has talked about. These are the tips or the guidelines that IMF has given to India, and India should start working on them immediately before it gets too late, because inflation is rising very, very fast and it might get out of hand very soon. So we better try and keep that in mind while we spend money in the future, while we invest somewhere or the other. Please keep that in mind, because this higher inflation might eat up in our savings very fast if we don't control it now. So this was today's session, a small discussion on inflation levels in our economy. I'm very sure that these steps have been understood and you will be able to use these steps in the upcoming whatever examinations you're writing, whether it's an objective one, whether it is a descriptive one. These are going to be very, very helpful. All the best, guys. Take care. Bye-bye. Jai Hind.